Howdy! Today I'm reviewing the X-Wing version of Star Wars crossover's Luke Skywalker. This was one of the first figures to come from the line. Since then, it has been re-released in the blue and white Clone Wars packaging, alongside some of the newer molds. The X-Wing mode itself is very nice, as you'd expect. The proportions are good, and there's lots of mold detailing to boot. You've even got R2-D2 where he's supposed to be. Also, like the Snowspeeder, there's a battle damage theme going on here. Aside from all the scorch marks, the deco is intentionally scratched. It helps to make the vehicle look more interesting and more realistic in some ways. For features, you've got retractable landing gear. You've also got 4 pressure-launched missiles, meaning you hold on to the launchers and press the missiles from behind. Unfortunately, the launching distance isn't great. If you have the original version of this toy, then you'll also have the mini pilot figure, something this re-release lacks. Although the cockpit still opens, so you can place other pilots inside. This is from the Snowspeeder version, and it's not a tight fit, but it rests well on the seat. As I've said, the X-Wing mode is generally good, but there are a couple of flaws that make it one of the weaker alt forms in terms of functionality. Firstly, the lightsaber stores underneath the nose section, but the hook that's supposed to hold it in isn't very strong. Secondly, when you display the wings in the supposed X shape, you expose the mech arms. Alternatively, you can lift the upper wings on their hinges. They're not quite as accurate this way, but the arms are hidden at least. Still, a problem like this is a rarity for a figure from this line. The transformation is fairly straightforward, but it's not a complete shell former like the Snowspeeder. If you have the pilot figure, it fits onto a seat inside his chest. Like a Megazord in some ways. His alt form may have a few problems, but his mech mode is where most of his flaws lie. For starters, the proportions are ridiculous. Skinny flat legs and puny arms to go with a square body. I know you can only do so much given the X-Wing shape, but it still looks bad. Then there's his kibble. The backpack isn't as ginormous as the Snowspeeders, but it's still pretty big and holds together poorly. These wings would look a little better if they were, say, pointing upwards a la Powerglide. This is just ridiculous. The hip panels at least can be dismissed as armour. The colour scheme resembles Luke's traditional flight suit, which looks quite striking actually. His head sculpt is also pretty good, what with the helmet's detail and all. Articulation is really limited because of all the bad design choices. There's pegs that keep the shoulders from rotating back, and if you try to force the shoulders past that point, you'll dislodge them. They also slide forward on their transformation joint and don't really lock in place. I heard that the hips on some of the earlier copies of this toy were on ball joints instead of hinges, like this one. Surely ball joints would have provided a better range of motion. On my figure, the left lower leg slides off its joint when I bend the knee. This may or may not be a well-ride problem, but in any case, it's unacceptable. Finally, his backpack makes him very hard to stand up. And it doesn't help that his ankle joints feel brittle. I feel like I'm going to break them eventually. He's got more weaponry than he knows what to do with. His lightsaber fits into his hand okay, but the missile launchers, not so much. You can place them on his wings, like so, though doing so just makes balancing even more of an issue. Overall, unless you're a fan of the character or the vehicle, I'd pass on this one. It's pretty disappointing. Next, I'm reviewing the twins of the new movie line, starting with Skids.